Hello, everyone, and we are back. Today I'm here with Zach from the project, which I keep messing up the name, Sukuri. He will tell you all about it. But I am excited because, we've met on Farcaster, and I assume this is going to be one of many interesting builders I'm going to talk about, which originated on the network, which is now my favorite. I am slowly switching from X. So welcome, Zach.
Thank you. Met on Farcaster. Haven't really been active on Farcaster for very long. Mostly active on Twitter. Have quite a lot of followers. Have been very active there. Had a lot of fun there. So yeah,
Cool.
migrating to Farcaster now. Very bullish on Farcaster.
Very bullish. Me as well. So let's start with the typical question. So how and when you got into crypto and what have you done before, before there was the thing?
Yeah. So no, I mean this is a pretty interesting question. I think everyone has a very interesting journey into crypto. So my initial, I'll try to give you like a condensed version of my life history. I guess it's so in around 2009, I got introduced to the dark web, and then that was really interesting. Didn't really pay much attention to it. I just knew that there was Tor and there was like onion routers, and there was this whole of unclaimed cyberspace that was outside jurisdictions of centralized states. And then around 2012, Bitcoin was doing well, and then I was kind of like trading it here and there. I was on BTCE that got hacked.
Okay, well,
And I was on a few other exchanges. I think Cryptopia is a big one that also didn't do well, and I've lost a lot of money on both of those platforms now. And yeah, just kind of in and out, kind of trading it. I think a lot of people have been like, who on the frontier have been kind of experimental, just kind of seeing what it does and stuff. So back then, I was still kind of a teenager. I didn't really see, I wasn't really like, I was just, I wasn't really focused on anything specific. And then obviously later on, the whole thing with Brexit, a lot of people were kind of like making a lot of money through Brexit, through Bitcoin, because there's a lot of arbitrage opportunity. And then obviously the 2017 bull run, that was huge. I created my first crypto group chat around then. I was just kind of like very interested in just trading, and I understood that this, and then around 2018, that this was the kind of technology of the future. What really kind of drew me in, like even deeper, was I had a lot of time. I was at university, so I spent a lot of time actually reading. I was studying economics and innovation, so it kind of really lined up with a lot of the not theological, but also the philosophical aspects of how money, in a sense, shapes society, and economics as well also kind of shapes society. So I kind of really delved into that, and then what really kind of stuck to me was the philosophical aspect of self sovereignty, having your own money, and then kind of learning about how the fiat system is kind of run in tandem with centralized governments, and then centralized governments throughout history have not really been on the side of people in a large sense, and having that whole kind of power dynamic opened up and explored was quite interesting for me. Like I suppose in a certain way, and I said this in another podcast, that you could explain history through power dynamics. So the power dynamic between centralized states and people, and then how money kind of interjects with this, and reading Adam Smith at the time as well, you kind of understood that you need to have a bit more kind of localized aspects, and through technology, we can really accelerate this kind of aspect of like the freedom of humanity. So that's what really stuck with me. And then I kind of, the bear market came, and I was like a bit wiped out, but I was kind of like, oh, I need to get a real job now, and I'm finishing uni at the same time. So I went into like corporate consulting. So I was working alongside PwC on very large scale multinational enterprise programs and projects. So I was overseeing software implementation on the enterprise level, and then kind of understanding and seeing how the beast works from the inside. So like I was working for a multi-billion-dollar company, and I was like I got really lucky in terms of the position I had, and I had like my boss, my mentor, he really believed in me, so I had a lot of oversight in terms of how companies use different like precious metals and the whole different currencies. Like the project I was working on was around $50 million. So I was kind of in charge of that at a very young age. And then also I saw how different countries work in the sense, and how we could kind of find a way to like work together. And one of the biggest issues, not biggest issues, but one of the issues that they had was all these different currencies were kind of like fluctuating all the time. They had to like invest in precious metals to kind of offset, different volatilities. There was a lot of, kind of like in the weeds kind of stuff that I had privy to, and I understood that, yeah, like businesses in the current form, corporations as an entity, they're very peculiar. They haven't been around longer than 500 years. East India Company was probably one of the first large corporations, and then a lot of that kind of like influenced my thinking about DAOs around 2018 as well. And yeah, just kind of working in corporate consulting for a while, and then I kind of worked as a consultant to startups. So I've worked with a few startups, and then kind of got pulled into crypto startups. So like and this was around the next bull run. So like people just saying like, hey, like we need your help. We've got this money. How do we deploy it? How do we we need to grow? At the time, like my Twitter following was growing like pretty well as well. So I had like good overall skill sets. So growth and operations. Growth in terms of just like shit posting on Twitter, and that was growing, and then like operations from my actual kind of work. So just working in startups and growth, helping them go to market, and just had a bunch of clients, and yeah, that was pretty good. And then I had another startup before this, and so at this point, I'm fully in crypto. Like I'm like, a lot of my friends made a lot of money, and I was like, and they were like millionaires basically, and I was like, I should not have like gone into like Web2 again. I should have just stayed, and if I stayed, I would have made it. So that's when I made a decision. Like whatever I do now is going to be Web3. This is like my life path essentially. So this is the future of future of humanity. This is how I see it. I see crypto as the future of humanity. So yeah, and then yeah,
Nice.
startup.
Optimistic view.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a good one.
the needs much easier, and you're already seeing this with HSBC and a few other banks that are trialing it. But yeah,
True.
going
True.
back to my origin story, had another startup working on DeFi, on invoice financing. So very large corporations, they need to factorize invoices. So basically, so like with shipping, you need to basically get the payment up front, and then you get the goods later. So that causes this time arbitrage essentially that needs to be kind of solved. And the blockchain again is really good. And then we did that for a bit, and then technology was too early. Real world assets on chain was again huge hurdle. I still don't. I think it's slowly being solved with treasuries and stuff, but again, it's still pretty difficult.
Coming.
And then started Sukuri, and then obviously like Sukuri has been part of my life now for about 15, 16 months, maybe less. But yeah, I've been doing this like for over a year, since December 2020. And yeah, my co-founder came to me with this idea like, hey, like we need to basically make recurring subscription payments on chain. We need to make like all these group chats. You have to mint a NFT for, and there's better ways to do this. There's subscriptions are much easier. The overall every business model is kind of moving towards a subscription, so that's where we kind of started off from, and now we are a business dashboard. We have a bunch of integrated tooling. We also built on top of this infrastructure for the recurring subscription payment. We have invoicing, HR, payroll. We also have like DeFi kind of built in to automate all the entire system. So like startups can make more money, have access to higher liquidity as well as higher DeFi rates. But yeah, I mean that was quite a lot, and I try to fit a lot in. But yeah, hopefully that
Yeah,
answers.
very good, very good. That's a great start. I mean, so we have something to unpack. I would say a lot, maybe, but yeah, I would definitely, so I would say one comment which always comes back to me. It's historically, right? Everything moves in like waves or sinusoids. So people, try to congregate and concentrate, and then they get dissatisfied because somebody misuses the power, and they try to decentralize. And so I think the decentralized path is the one which, is upon us now, but it's probably not going to be like fully decentralized, towards the individuals. I sort of believe it's probably going to be decentralized towards smaller groups, which are kind of compatible in the way they think, live, and earn whatever playing. But it's just a side comment. But I definitely want to dig deeper into, and I think the path of yours is actually very fascinating, because I think there's not many people who I spoke to who would get a lot of leeway in kind of Web2 or corporate projects, and who would jump the ship directly into crypto. So that's definitely interesting. This actually, by the way, this is how I started. I started a long time ago as a post M&A consultant in Cooperson Library and at PwC after it was bought. It was great. It was a sort of golden age of consulting. So I definitely enjoyed that part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just quickly, like when I worked consulting, like it was really fast paced. I was working 18 hours days, but like the thing is, I just graduated essentially, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot, and the kind of approach it gave me, like from like 10 years ago, like my view in life was that I need like breadth of experience. I need a breadth of life. I wanted to see a lot of different things, and that's why I chose the degree I chose, which is economics. It kind of like intersects with business, technology, also philosophy, and politics. So again, and then going into my kind of career in terms of like consulting and project management specifically, again, I got to see had very meta skill sets, I suppose, and had a very kind of broad approach. And I mean, a lot of people shit on consultants, but kind of seeing it from like inside, you kind of understand a lot of problems that businesses have, especially very large corporations, because information, again, it gets very cloudy. I think probably 90% of my role was like learning about effective communication, learning about the problems of communication itself, and that's kind of stuck with me for a very long time. It's like information itself is a huge problem.
Oh yeah, I think once consultant, forever consultant in a sense, because there's a lot of smart people who work in consulting, and the fact that clients and sometimes hire consultants for wrong things, and consultants say yes because it's a good money, it's a different story. But I generally think there's a lot to be learned, and if you want to learn it quickly, there's very few other places where you can learn so much as in consulting, in terms of like industry knowledge, breadth, and interesting projects to work on. But so let's get back to crypto. we are kind of okay with the fact that we are kind of consultants in heart now. Tell me a little bit more about what the Sukuri does and how the idea came about, because it doesn't seem totally straightforward from like the dashboard for small businesses or startups.
Cool. So yeah, the evolution. All right. I mean, I'll start with what we are now. So
Sure.
businesses are like constantly evolving, but I'll kind of go into the history and evolution of what we're building. So right now we are a business dashboard for startups. So we are a crypto native tool. So what that means is
For crypto native startups, to be clear, right?
yeah, correct. So we're a crypto
Okay.
native tool for crypto native startups. So
Yeah.
what that means is right now there's a problem with businesses being able to accept crypto. And then that's one issue that we've kind of solved. We have recurring subscription payments. We also have EOA single time payments for like and we have a way to kind of automate them through EOAs. Just for context, EOAs and smart accounts, they are different kind of wallets, and they have different functionalities that they allow, and that's a whole technical kind of stuff that like it's just long to get into.
Cool.
So we have that. So we have the ability to kind of like make normal businesses Web3 businesses. So that's one thing. And then once we've done that, which we did. Like we had a problem whereby the Web3 business, like these now Web3 businesses, they have no way to kind of do the back office operations to manage like their like their incoming payments through crypto. So one of our kind of clients was asking like there's no invoicing feature, but also how do we marry these invoices to accounts, to an accounting aspect whereby we can trace back every transaction on the blockchain. So we're creating an automated way to do that. That is like context rich. So right now, there's a huge problem with like you have to basically pay a crypto accountant to kind of go through your records of like I have a computer program to actually a single time run of every kind of transaction you had, and you have to kind of like
Yeah.
add context. You have to have meetings, especially for like large corporations, but for startups as well. Like this can take time away from just like operational stuff. So and actually like growing your startup. So we've created a way to kind of automate that and add context, but also payroll. So right now I pay every employee in crypto. They're all across the world. They're contractors. They have like different like legal statuses depending on their country regulations. So automating this as well is I wouldn't say it's a huge headache, but as you kind of scale your company, it does become a huge headache. And then what crypto kind of allows is very much similar kind of native functionality as the software called Rippling. So Rippling is a HR software that really allows for like overall granular control over HR processes. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, in terms of DeFi stuff. So right now, businesses, they have treasuries. We don't really call them treasuries. We call them like bank accounts, business bank accounts. So there's a Web2 company called Mercury Bank, and what they do is they offer, or Capital XYZ, they offer startups access to US treasuries. So which is high yield. So what are we doing in crypto? What we're doing really is fundamentally reinventing the internet. So where the internet is built like computer to computer transactions, and then we built like financial layers on top of that, and then we have like very old institutions called banks that are kind of connected, and then there's the IBAN system, and there's all these other kind of different integrated systems, whereas the blockchain is rebuilding the internet, whereby the financial layer is a lot lower. So basically what that allows us to do is build all these different softwares directly onto that lower layer, which makes things way more efficient, timely, and just faster. Everything is better generally. So again, that's where the kind of ethos comes from, and that's a bit more of an explanation. And then going a bit more back to my roots in terms of invoice financing as well. So there's a Web2 company called Pipe. So what they do is they have like they aimed at startups as well, whereby you can basically put your subscriptions to be financed for the year. So turning MRR into ARR and kind of getting some of that upfront and then paying it back every month. Okay, so all like the three things I mentioned, the three companies, Rippling, Mercury, and Pipe, like you can do that in crypto much easier. And it can be an all-in-one tool, an all-in-one dashboard like we're building, whereby like startups have just way more optionality in terms of what they do with their money. And we're doing it in a way whereby we don't control your wallets. It's totally self-custodial. We are working on account abstraction, so like you have very granular control of how you want to kind of automate your systemized process. So one user flow would be, you set up a SaaS payment for a software. You're paying every month, like someone's paying every month into an account with USDC. That USDC is automated. You don't have to click authorize. You don't have to go to an external website, connect your MetaMask. You don't have to do any of that. You have money, it comes out automatically, and then it goes into like a person's treasury, like a company's treasury, and that's automatically staked. So, and then obviously, once that treasury is being staked and it's constantly generating yield, you can automatically take payments from there to pay your contractors, pay invoices, pay other people, and then again, that's just like the basic. That's just the most simple kind of like flow. But what we could also do is the customer, instead of paying for 1 month,
I'll stop you there. I think for the for the initial introduction, it's pretty good. Let's leave it for later. The other cool stuff you can do, because I think I can probably imagine what you can do. But so I have a question, and there is a number of interesting services which obviously are composable, and you guys might be using. So what components from Web3 other services you guys are using in Sukuri?
So we're pretty heavily reliant on account abstraction. So we're talking with and using with all the major account abstraction kind of companies. But the thing is, account abstraction itself is still very early. So I know the kind of author of that, Christoph, quite well. He was at my panel on Monday, the event I hosted. And then we're in constant talks with him. So yeah, we're super close with him. Biconomy, they're also like an advisor to Sukuri as well. They're a huge kind of account abstraction player. And then Zero Dev, we've used them in some of our kind of like experiments in terms of account creation. So those are some of the major kind of players, and obviously we're now pivoting a lot more towards Farcaster. So we're using Farcaster off. In terms of the future, again, this can go on a tangent, so I'll try to keep it on a short leash. We're trying to build. So like one of the major features of, in my opinion, of Farcaster is not social. It's commerce. So like there's a social graph, but
Totally.
imagine like the social graph. Like so you have like TikTok shop, right? So this TikTok shop, basically, you have to kind of log in, you have to save your bank account, all this other kind of stuff. So what we're doing at Sukuri is everyone who has a Farcaster ID, they also have like a bank account attached to it, in our opinion. So, but what we can also do is add more context and add more data to that Farcaster ID in a way that, again, is totally crypto safe and crypto native, but in a way whereby you can have one-click checkout. So there are a few people kind of building in a similar vein. We have a very specific solution aimed at startups. But again, like, the ability to kind of have commerce on Farcaster, I think, is a huge one. And then also, like, with every FID, there's a whole bunch of contextual data on the Farcaster protocol. So not only you have the blockchain data from each ENS wallet or whatever, ETH wallet, but also you have like what are their likes, what channels are they in, all this other kind of stuff, which is, again, it's going to get tapped into. So I mean that's why we've kind of like said fuck Twitter, we're on Farcaster now, so we're all in.
Okay, cool. Now, so we should probably answer two questions because it was really interesting until now, but I think we kind of skipped those. So in what stage is Sukuri now? You guys are in beta, or is it already live? Where are you now?
Yeah, it's not. So we have like some aspects of the product on mainnet. So you had the recurring subscription payments kind of stuff done. Anyone can create a smart account with us. Through on base actually, for Sukuri. So anyone can kind of create an account and kind of have that kind of logged in. So yeah, we have like certain aspects and components that are live. We are planning to go live with a dashboard today or Monday. So by the time this podcast comes out, everybody will to go and check out our dashboard. And the way we're launching it is we have a bunch of like features that we want to roll out like at an incremental kind of basis. So we're coming out with a very basic kind of product set, which is the ability to kind of create a product. So you can create like a single time payment product or like a subscription payment product. And then we have like different flows of how you kind of can manage that. So either through smart accounts or through EOAs, we accept both. Again, totally crypto native. Our kind of goal with this in the future is to accept any ERC. So any token on any chain to any chain within any token through account abstraction, and a native chain abstraction. So like it doesn't matter what you pay with. We can have like we can reroute payments to like whatever currency you want to get accepted in. So a lot of startups, they want to
Follow-up question. Stop there. Sorry. Stop there. Follow-up question. So who is your ideal user? I don't want to say customer because we're probably going to touch on a business a little later, but who is the ideal user right now? Because that's going to evolve obviously as well.
Yeah, right. So right now we just want to onboard startups that have something to sell on crypto. That's literally it.
Okay. So basically, that would mean kind of like anyone who is regularly creating in crypto native way, right? Like
Correct,
NFT guys, artists, startups, obviously, which got funding and they actually trying to do something maybe as well.
Yeah, I mean, so like there's a lot of like creator aimed products that kind of do something similar, but we don't want to focus on creators.
Okay.
Not because like they're bad, but like it kind of affects a lot of the like product decisions along the way. We believe that like focusing on startups will have the most kind of bang for buck in terms of the decisions that we make as a startup. So like power users, for instance, as is another word that could be using our platform. So like startups and power users, 100% can
Sure.
kind of be using us, or people who want very high level accounting aspects if they're an NFT trader or whatever. But again, our focus is startups. We feel as though that's like a huge growth market.
I know you're early, but so is there already an issue with like, national or regional legislation? Because obviously, US is different than Europe. Europe is kind of different than Switzerland, than Asia. Do you guys, tapped already into these issues, or you are trying to stay above this problem?
Yeah, we don't care about fiat. To be honest, like we will be integrating with people that like allow for fiat payments and stuff. So we'll have like Stripe integration, so that can kind of like connect to us. But like we don't control your wallet, so we're not like essentially, and I have to be careful about my words here. Your funds are your funds. We're not like
Right.
we
My
kind of
accounting is my accounting, basically. That's what
correct.
you're trying to say.
Yeah, so
Right.
we're just like a tool provider. We're not the
Cool.
actual, we're not facilitating as much. And yeah, so we're integrating with fiat payments. We're not like, we'll have third party people that will kind of control that. We don't really want to deal with that. Again, like my vision of the future is Web3 focused. We're entirely happy with just focusing on Web3 companies and businesses. So.
Okay. So now it seems to me, and you can correct me because maybe I totally got it wrong, but it seems to me that you guys are collecting a lot of data for a specific startup. Where are the data stored? Do you just, run the blockchain queries and then, show it? Or do you actually like scrape the data and then say, store them somewhere and run reporting over that?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. So right now, that hasn't really been a big priority kind of solved, but we do have like various decentralized solutions. So we could, we could work with a file storage solution that is very decentralized. But the way we're kind of doing it now is pretty much like in a very Web2 oriented way. But again, the only thing that we're storing is what product you're creating, and which wallets are kind of like interacting with that. That's about it. That's the only kind of data we have. So, but as we kind of go along, it is going to become a design problem, and we do really have like very decentralized aspects of doing that. Some of the trade offs that we made right now is we just want to ship really quickly, and then we will kind of want to integrate other Web3 solutions as we scale. Farcaster has this kind of saying, we're sufficiently decentralized, and I think that kind of applies to us. So our focus right now is kind of like speed of execution. We have the account abstraction stuff. We don't handle wallets. We don't do all these other kind of stuff. Again, like that's on someone else's issue. But so like we're pretty. I think we're in a pretty good spot in terms of that.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I think a lot of people will be interested. So how big is the team, and have you guys raised money, or you are self-funded? How does it look?
Yeah, so we've been bootstrapping, and yeah, we're waiting for this MVP to come out. Since we've kind of built on top of this infrastructure that we've built. So like this, this front end that anyone can use. I can send a link to anyone. We have like a very good like demo that people can kind of check out, and I've already been sending this out. So in terms of funding,
Awesome.
We're kind of just waiting for again, it's MVP, but then we're in talks with some angels. Some people have kind of come to us saying they want to invest, so we may open an angel round, or we may wait until we get more traction for a full like larger pre-seed, or we might roll up one into the other. So yeah.
And is it 2 co-founders, or is there more people?
There's quite a lot of people. So there's me and 2 other co-founders.
Right.
So Max and Ian. We've been working on this since December 2022. And then we have about like a few people that have joined us along the way. We have altogether about 7 people in the team.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Pretty good team.
Yeah.
Do you guys see any competition in the space which would be going in the same direction? Because, so when you say like we have one dashboard for your startup, of course, people will hear dashboard and then they will ignore everything. So there's a number of dashboards you can use, of course. Is there anybody doing something similar, and about them? Maybe you even work with them?
Yeah, so there is I mean, because the problem is so new, there's always going to be very different, distinct design solutions. So there's no one-to-one competitor that we can say like, oh yeah, this is exactly the same. I would say one of the biggest kind of players that we want to essentially like, we would consider it a competitor is Request Finance.
Okay.
Why me? So like, but the thing is, like, I feel as though like they have huge amount of customers. They're one of the biggest players. I think they have about 2,000 customers. So these are like 2,000 Web3 companies. But their solution, I feel as though is very, and they've been running since for a few years. I've known them and I've actually used them in like previous companies that I've worked in. So, and they're quite big. But the thing is, I feel as though that they're a very Web 2.5 solution. Again, like, we're non-custodial. We can automate everything. We don't have to like send reminders to like send transactions. We can just send transactions from your treasury that's already being staked. And we have a lot more focus on DeFi. I've worked with DeFi companies. I work with people behind Olympus as well. So again, like, I think our kind of core strategies are very different, even though our kind of end use case may be similar or the target audience is very similar.
Okay. No, I think, so it's always worrying when somebody says like nobody's doing this, because there's always somebody doing something very similar. It's just hard.
Request Finance is probably the biggest, but there's like a lot. Even when we're doing like recurring subscription payments, one of our like I had a call with one of my competitors who's abandoned the recurring subscription stuff. He said like it's the tar pit of like crypto startups. It's like trying to create recurring subscription payments. So people have been trying to do that for years, and it's only become really like feasible due to account abstraction. And then account abstraction has a whole like host of problems whereby so that's why we've kind of like focused a lot more on business solutions and automating a lot more other stuff that can integrate with these and help. We want to help the adoption of smart cards. So yeah.
So I think very natural question now, Zach, is so when do you think you guys will be out of beta? Like you'll be happy with the solution and it will be fully usable for the first set of customers.
Okay, so so again, like we plan to launch our dashboard today. I don't know if it will get done today, or like I have to check in with my devs. So technically that's like a live product. That's like whatever version you can call. But like the end vision for my product is it's going to be extremely feature rich and has extreme composability because we're using smart accounts. We can be very modular. You can have modules. You can have like an app store within like every big account abstraction companies is going for a modular approach. By economy, Safe as well has their own kind of app store as well. I think EvoSport is doing something like that as well. So again, like the future is definitely going to be very composable. So my long-term vision of this is like you could pretty much do anything with your the back-end operations of your startup on a crypto native way. So like the power tooling that let's say JP Morgan has, I guess, in terms of like the level of control and the level of like optionality that they have access to, that can be anyone could be using that. So that's our kind of goal. DeFi, treasury management, automating everything, automating all the transactions, but also adding exotic DeFi options to your potential customers, like savings accounts. Like every treasury can become like an investment into the company that you're working with or whatever. So again, there's loads of tooling that we want to build on top of what we're doing now. So
it sounds a lot to me that you're trying to help. Well, you're basically trying to bring a lot of DeFi pieces, which are now accessible to like sort of one place for the startups, not to worry about it too much, but have it sort of like one-click option. Is it correct definition?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so I think last question from my side would be, so if you are launching today, or let's say this week, whatever, even next week, doesn't matter. Basically, let's say we are launching in February 2020. What's in store for 2024 as a year? Where do you think you will get with the product? And what should people watch for?
Yeah, so we will be feature parity with every single Web 2.5 solution out there within a couple months. Okay. So by end of May, maybe, like that's like pretty optimistic. That's in the middle ground. I'm I've done like
You
projects
have to
very
be optimistic. I'm used to it, so it's fine.
so yeah, so feature parity with every kind of like Web 2.5 solution, and then we want to start building DeFi stuff on top of it. So
Mhm.
so what I mean by feature parity, let's just clarify that. So yeah, almost every like back office operational kind of task, we have kind of tooling for it. So invoicing, HR, checkouts, payroll, treasury, like not treasury management per se, but yeah, just that kind of like paperwork kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So and emails as well. Being able to manage all your customers in a single place, being able to manage your subscribers, end of month reporting. You can automate this, export CSVs. So all of these kind of things kind of built into the system. And then yeah, we want to like towards the latter half of the year, we want to focus entirely on DeFi stuff. So automating treasury management, integrating with certain pool companies, a bit more experimentally into pipe.com territory. So yeah, so all right, so Rippling and all these other bit like request finance. We want to do that by like halfway through the year, and then towards the latter half of the year, we want to like do the Mercury Bank Capital XYZ kind of stuff. So treasury
Mhm.
management, high yield stuff, and then after that, we want to kind of go into more pipe.com territory. So DeFi for invoices, essentially invoice financing, subscription payments, just building.
Cool. Very cool. Quick question: do you guys know Superfluid?
Yeah, we've yeah, I'm very familiar with Superfluid.
Okay. Are you gonna stream payments from the dashboard?
I mean, yeah, we could. Why not? Like, it's pretty easy. I mean, not. Please don't take that out of context. It's not easy. It is very difficult technically, but like, it's a low hanging fruit in my opinion. It's not like we're not
Hmm.
inventing anything. We can just like look at code and be like, all right, let's just implement this.
No, I'm just asking because they had some announcement yesterday, and I very much like them because I met a friend in Milan. He was on a podcast,
Oh, nice.
and streaming payment was like basically like the flow of money was one of the interests of mine back in the university. So it's finally happening. Okay, cool. So I'll get all the links from you which you want to share. Obviously, they will be in the show notes. Is there anything else you want to shout out to the listeners and people who will be checking out the Sukuri?
No, I mean, again, like we're releasing a very early product. I would like people to kind of keep that in mind. And then the long term vision is, we're all crypto natives. I believe, I would say, like I'm an ideologue in terms of like crypto optimism. So yeah, like we want to make the best crypto solution that's very, core to the ethos of like decentralization or self sovereignty. So yeah, long term vision is what we're here for, what we're building for. So yeah, stick along.
Okay, very cool. Thank you very much for the time, Zach. It was really interesting. Thanks a lot.
Likewise, mate. Cheers.